from TMZ. Alex Michelson there at Fox 11 in Los Angeles has it in this tweet here that Sean Diddy Combs has been arrested after being indicted by a grand jury in New York. That's according to the New York Times, also according to TMZ as well here. It's not immediately clear what charges he is facing. So this is quite significant here. I want to just show you some file footage of Diddy over the years. Now,
hang on, Karen. This is the lawyer. Let's listen.
I think come on. We knew this was coming. I mean, he moved to New York, as I think some of you guys know. We brought him to New York about 2 weeks ago because we knew this day was going to come, and it's here.
Did you expect it to happen last night? Was that planned?
No, it's not
After
planned.
Diddy's arrest, the rumor mill exploded, and now Ice Cube has jumped right into the mix. Known for never holding back, the West Coast legend isn't staying quiet on this one. Sources close to him say he's been watching the legal drama unfold closely. Some insiders even claim that Ice Cube isn't surprised by the buzz about Diddy possibly turning on Jay-Z. He reportedly believes that when the heat's on, powerful people in the industry will do whatever it takes to save themselves, even if it means throwing their closest allies under the bus.
Breaking news tonight, Sean Diddy Combs has been arrested in a Manhattan hotel this evening after a grand jury indicted the music mogul. His attorney tells CNN that he is currently being processed. The charges are unclear as of this moment. Joining us now is CNN's entertainment reporter Elizabeth Wagmeister, and also with us CNN chief legal correspondent Ellie Honig. Elizabeth, you were a big part of revealing some details about Diddy's conduct in private over the course of the last couple of months. That video led to a lot more scrutiny on what he has been accused of. What do we know at this point about what this case might ultimately be about?
Abby, at the moment, we don't know what the charges are. I have information that he was arrested tonight at a Manhattan hotel. He is currently being processed. I heard from his attorney they are still maintaining his innocence. They said that in anticipation of these charges that Diddy relocated to New York last week. And here's a statement that I have from his attorney. He says, "We are disappointed with the decision to pursue what we believe is an unjust prosecution of Mr. Combs by the U.S. Attorney's Office." He goes on to say that he is an imperfect person, but is not criminal. Now, Abby, that video that you just spoke about was a few months ago when our team broke this disturbing video of Diddy violently assaulting his ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, better known as the singer, her stage name, Cassie. Now, up until this point, when we broke this video, Diddy had denied the allegations against him. Cassie is one of 10 civil suits against Diddy, 9 of which he is accused directly of sexually assault. Up until that video, he denied everything. After that video came out, he changed his tone. He apologized for his conduct in that video. But I have to tell you, Abby, just as of last week, a former member of Danity Kane, which was one of the bands from Making the Band, Diddy's show that was on MTV, she sued him for sexual assault and other disturbing allegations, and he denied that. So he continues the denials, and he still maintains his innocence, even though he has been arrested tonight.
And Ellie, not a huge amount of information available tonight, but Elizabeth brought up something that I want you to give us a little bit of insight into. Diddy is here in New York, in Manhattan. He apparently came to here in anticipation that something like this might happen. What should we understand about what that might mean? It could very well be that this is a federal arrest being processed here in New York.
So, Abby, there are some important things we do not know, including the specific charges that have been lodged against Sean Combs. But there are some really important things we do know. First of all, based on the attorney's statement, based on our reporting, this is a federal prosecution. It's not a state prosecution. The fact that he's being processed in Manhattan tells me that's the Southern District of New York. That's consistent with the reporting that the Southern District of New York had been handling this case. That's the office I used to work at. That's an office that sort of specializes in high stakes cases. Just in the last year or so, Southern District of New York, just as an example, has successfully prosecuted Sam Bankman-Fried, Senator Robert Menendez. The other thing that we do know is a grand jury has indicted Sean Combs, meaning they found probable cause that he committed at least one federal crime. Now, as to what happens next, there will be, likely tomorrow or within the next couple days, but usually in the SDNY, you try to do it the next day, there will be an arraignment, meaning Sean Combs will appear in court with his lawyers. There are no cameras in federal court. He will be advised of the charges against him, and he will almost certainly enter a not guilty plea. But the key thing to watch for is then we'll have the question of bail. Will prosecutors agree to let him out on bail? Will prosecutors ask the judge to lock him up pending trial? That could end up in a contentious argument. So these are things that are going to play out over the next 24 or 48 hours. And finally, Abby, with respect to the charges themselves, it's important to note, we've all seen that video, but assault and sexual assault are not federal crimes. Those are prosecuted in state court. So what I expect to see when we see this indictment is some sort of crime with some element of organization to it, sex trafficking, something along those lines, if it's based on some of the allegations we've heard.
And of course, back in March, his homes in LA and in Miami were raided. All of this leading up to this moment. Elizabeth and Ellie, a lot more to this story will be coming up in the coming days and weeks.
So, what exactly happened to Diddy that got him into this mess? While the details of his arrest are still unclear, several insiders suggest the music mogul is in serious legal trouble. The exact charges remain a mystery, but they're reportedly severe enough that Diddy might be feeling the heat to cooperate with authorities. If these rumors hold any truth, Diddy could be exploring ways to reduce his sentence, possibly by giving up information on others in the industry, with Jay-Z's name allegedly being thrown into the mix.
Everybody knew that Puff took Tupac blueprint and changed Biggs and Bad Boy in image. I Get Around, talked about how fly you was, how many girls you mess with, how many cars you drive, how much money you got, what you willing to do. He took his image. Pac was the first one on the scene wearing Versace shirts. He went and got the same Versace shirts Pac had. Which, all right, some dudes would do that. You would never catch me wearing something else, something that somebody else got. He was knocking down all the women that he thought Pac was knocking down. And what I mean is having sex with. Why would you want to have sex with women you know for sure a dude that was once cool with you was dealing with? That's that image. Because you got to realize, bruh, Puff and Pac was cool at one time. We know this. Mopreme said that they was going to sign the Bad Boy. So if he's going to sign to Bad Boy, it was because of Corey and them. I put that picture on the internet. I put the picture on my channel of Corey Jones. Is Corey Jones, Corey Jacobs? I think Corey Jacobs and Pac right next to each other. Those was the real bad boys of Bad Boy. You understand? Those are the ones who got the 16 to life sentence. That Pac was gonna go and be with them first. But then Mopreme said, when it became just Big and Puff, because Corey and them went to jail, he changed his direction. But nobody know why Pac and Puff fell out like they did. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody know why. But Puff had an obsession with him for whatever reason it was, because he started wanting to act. He started wanting to rap. He had an obsession so bad that at his Grammy Award winning speech, he used the same speech that Pac used. That shit is crazy. So when people say I'm obsessed with talking about Puff and telling y'all the truth, who's obsessed with who? Pac had Sarah before Puff. Allegedly, he had Sally before Puff. And Kim had an obsession or liked Pac so much, she on the red carpet with Tupac shirt on. Who's obsessed with who?
So you believe Diddy, he only got with Sarah Chapman because Pac, he had her at one point.
And it was a bet in the office. Sarah was messing with an NBA basketball player. Puff bet all the niggas didn't believe that he could get it within 2 weeks. $100. So she actually was a $100 bet that he got.
And who was the NBA player?
I think it was Gary Payton, allegedly. That's what he said. Somebody said, she messed with Gary Payton? I bet you I get it. I bet you I have it within 2 weeks. Me and him and Sarah went to this party in Chicago that he was hosting with the Streets Entertainment. And we went to the store called Cranberry and it's one of those stores like you get fragrance and you get candles, colognes and stuff like that. It's called Cranberry and something. And from that point on, yeah. But you gotta realize, Misa and Kim was friends. Misa and Kim was friends. He started dealing with Kim over Misa. Kim and Sarah was friends. I mean, hand to hand, pots and pans. They was close. They all used to, Sarah, Kim, and this other girl, I think she was from Atlanta. What's her name? It missed me right now. But they all used to hang together. So then we went from Kim to Sarah. He liked to do the friend thing. Looked like that.
Ice Cube speaking up about this situation isn't exactly surprising. He's known for calling out the politics and shady dealings in the music industry, often drawing from his own experiences. As one of the pioneers of West Coast rap and a trailblazing businessman, his opinions carry serious weight. However, it's worth noting that Ice Cube hasn't directly addressed Jay-Z's alleged involvement. His comments so far have been more focused on the culture of betrayal within the industry as a whole.
And welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. We do have some breaking news we want to report to you out of the world of entertainment. We're getting this in from TMZ. Alex Michelson there at Fox 11 in Los Angeles has it in this tweet here that Sean Diddy Combs has been arrested after being indicted by a grand jury in New York. That's according to the New York Times, also according to TMZ as well here. It's not immediately clear what charges he is facing. So this is quite significant here. I want to just show you some file footage of Diddy over the years. Now, TMZ has an update saying that a law enforcement source is telling them the arrest was scheduled for Tuesday, but something happened that caused the feds to move in a day earlier. So Diddy, if you're just joining us here, was just arrested and taken into federal custody in New York tonight. Sources tell TMZ Homeland Security swooped into a Midtown hotel late Monday where Diddy was staying, and they arrested him. Also, TMZ says we have unconfirmed reports the feds are searching his hotel room. They were told that Diddy was taken to the FBI field office in Manhattan. So you will remember that earlier this year, You remember these scenes over his homes in both Miami and there, as well in Beverly Hills, where those search warrants were issued and those searches of his properties were given, and they were executed there at his homes as part of these ongoing criminal investigations into alleged sex trafficking. Now, at the time, it was very unclear what the search warrants referred to there at the time. But according to TMZ, the arrest tonight is in connection with those searches. And you remember at the time that we were over this story for a very long time that day earlier this year. I'm trying to get an exact date from my producer to jog my memory. March the 25th. So March 25th, the same day, 2 of Diddy's residences were searched by federal law enforcement there in Beverly Hills and his home in Miami in connection to what we knew at the time was an alleged federal sex trafficking investigation. And you remember these scenes, his mansion there in the Holmby Hills and his mansion there in Miami. So this is breaking right now. We are working to get more details. We are working to get more people on the line to help us make sense of what exactly happened today. But all we know right now is that Diddy has been arrested in New York. The New York Times and TMZ both have it. I have it up here at the New York Times. They say this, I'm reading from their piece, that Sean Combs, the music mogul whose career has been upended by sexual assault lawsuits in a federal investigation, was arrested in Manhattan on Monday evening after a grand jury indicted him. Now, this is important. At the time, we brought on legal affairs journalist Megan Cuniff, who is based in Los Angeles, and she noted at the time, back in March, that it looked like these warrants were approved by judges in New York, which led Megan Cuniff to believe at the time that maybe the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York was the lead on these probes and these investigations into federal sex trafficking allegations here. Now, that was Megan Cuniff's supposition at the time. I think it has borne out now because Diddy was arrested by federal authorities in Manhattan. And from what I was told, from what I remember at the time, a judge in New York signed off on the search warrants for the searches of his properties in Los Angeles and in Miami. Now, if we get any more clarification on that, or if Megan Cuniff, who we might bring on, can correct me if I'm wrong here. But at the time, Megan Cuniff, we had asked her, would Diddy be held liable, or would any legal action be taken against him personally in the immediate wake and aftermath of those raids on his mansions in California and Florida? Megan Cuniff at the time told us she didn't believe it would happen immediately, that the feds would present their case most likely to a grand jury, which we now know has been done there in Manhattan. So according to the New York Times, the indictment is sealed. The charges were not announced, so we don't know the charges. But they have a source that says the person familiar with the prosecution, they believe Combs is being charged with racketeering and sex trafficking here. So 7:30 here on the West Coast, 10:30 there on the East Coast. This is a breaking news story right now regarding the music mogul, the hip-hop legend, Sean Diddy Combs, being arrested by federal authorities today in Lower Manhattan.
If Diddy decides to cooperate with law enforcement, the fallout could be huge. Both Diddy and Jay-Z have ruled the music and business worlds for years, but a legal battle of this magnitude could shake the entire industry. Lawyers on both sides are likely gearing up for a high-stakes showdown if these allegations pick up steam. Some experts even suggest that if Jay-Z gets dragged into this, it could trigger investigations into past business deals and associations that have been quietly buried for years.
Hang on, Karen. This is the lawyer. Let's listen.
Me, I'll share with the press. You guys see, I speak to him all the time. We knew this was coming. I mean, he moved to New York, as I think some of you guys know. We brought him to New York about 2 weeks ago because we knew this day was going to come, and it's here.
Did you expect it to happen last night? Was that planned?
No, it's not planned. Certainly, it's not planned by us. I mean, he came here to surrender at a time agreeable to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and then they arrested him last night. I spent the evening with him. I was with him until about 1 o'clock. His spirits are good. He's confident. He is dealing with this head on, the way he's dealt with every challenge in his life, and he's not guilty. He's innocent of these charges. We know what the charges are going to be without seeing the indictment. It's going to be racketeering. It's going to be sex trafficking. It's going to be things along those lines. This is what we've been expecting since the searches in March. He, to his great credit, he voluntarily came to New York. Not a lot of defendants do that. He came to New York to basically engage the court system and start the case, and it'll start today. And he's going to plead not guilty, obviously. He's going to fight this with all of his energy and all of his might and the full confidence of his lawyers. And I expect a long battle with a good result for Mr. Combs. So I'm going to fight like hell to get him released, and he should be released with all that he's done and coming here voluntarily. And guys, I'm going to cut it short because I have to go in. All right. So thank you all very much, and I'll keep you all posted. Not this morning. I'm going to see him now. I was with him till 1 o'clock. So.
Is he in court already?
I don't know. That's one of the things I'm going to go see. But I'm going to run, you guys. Thank you. Thanks a lot. All right, fellas. Bye, everybody. Yeah, I'll be around.
That is attorney Mark Agnifilo happening right behind our Kara Scannell right here. And we learned a number of new things. Number one, Diddy's going to plead not guilty. Number two, they expect the charges to be racketeering and sex trafficking. And three, as we've been reporting all morning long, he's leaning into the fact that Diddy came voluntarily to New York, he claims, a few years ago, because few weeks ago, I should say, because they believed this was about to happen here.
Right, John, that's right. I mean, this investigation really entered a new stage last spring when Diddy's homes were searched by Homeland Security investigators. Those homes in Los Angeles and in Miami, they seized his electronic devices. And a lot of the women in their civil lawsuits had alleged that they were filmed doing these sex acts. So that is all evidence that the prosecution has been looking for, and it is possible that they have recovered some of that. But we will learn more details of that once this indictment is unsealed. And as you said, Diddy's attorney, Mark Agnifilo, saying that he expects this to be racketeering and sex trafficking. And he also said that he is going to try to get Diddy released today. That is one question that is unknown at this point, of whether prosecutors are going to seek to detain him. Other individuals charged with sex trafficking have been detained. Big question is, will Diddy walk out these doors behind me later today?
Fans have been quick to react to the unfolding drama, flooding social media with theories. Some believe Diddy might be trying to save himself from a long prison sentence by turning on Jay-Z, while others think it's all just a big publicity stunt. Both Diddy and Jay-Z have huge fan bases, and any public fallout between them could spark a major divide within the hip-hop community. Their relationship has always been complicated. Although they've collaborated in the past, there have been whispers of competition and power struggles behind the scenes. These two moguls don't just dominate music. They've built massive empires spanning fashion, liquor brands, and even sports teams. With so much on the line, any rift between them could have serious consequences, not just legally, but across their entire business empires.
And when is the last encounter you had where you worked for him? First time to the last time, what was that timeline?
Well, if you say the first time, it would have to be in round 90 when he got jumped into a group of ours called the Same Gang.
Literally jumped into?
Right.
Like when I think about jumped into, I mean he's jumped.
Well, he ran first.
Okay,
and
got it.
And then the guys caught him, and if you look on the back of my book, that's the crew right there, on the back of the book. The younger guys caught him. We was on 44th and 8th Avenue, 144th Street and 8th Avenue. He ran down to 127th Street, and they caught him, and they brought him all the way back up, roughed him up pretty bad.
How bad was it?
It wasn't bad at all, but it was enough to embarrass him real good, because D. Ferg, who was one of the, like A$AP Ferg father, he's a rapper. He owned a clothing line, him and Puff was real close. So he didn't want him hurt too bad, so we just more so embarrassed him, the older guys, like taking champagne bottles, splashing in his face, hitting him with cakes in the head and everything, smacking with cakes and everything. We let the younger guys rough him up, you know what I'm saying? So that was about in 90 when he got into the same game.
So he's born 69, 90, he's 21 years old when this happens.
Yeah.
Was he tough? His father was a tough, somebody that was in the military and was linked to Nicky Barnes and Frank Lucas, and he was a heroin dealer. So maybe he had a little bit of the genes, but was he somebody that you would say he was a tough guy, he could stand up, he wasn't afraid?
Puff wasn't no pushover.
Okay.
I don't know why people would think that he was just a total pushover. He knew, like certain guys do, they know who to mess with and who not to mess with.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? And that's any guys in the street. It's very few guys that don't care who the guy is. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I grew up in St. Louis, we went toe to toe. We didn't care who you was or where you was from or what's your size or nothing like that. We were taught like that. So to get back to your question, it was about 90 when he got jumped in, and he was having a problem at a club called The Building and the Red Zone. The Building is where he did unsigned hype. That's where you seen Queen Latifah, leaders of the new schools. If you looked at that movie Juice, where they did the DJ that was playing, they had the DJ contest, that was The Building, and they filmed it there. So Puff was actually doing the unsigned hype in that place, and he was having problems, and he needed to get the money home. He needed to get the money home, from collecting the money that night at the place, then make sure he got home safe. So D. Ferg said, why don't you get Gene? Gene will do it for you, you know what I'm saying? So he asked me, so I was making sure that he was taking the money back to, at this time we were going to 111th Street and 5th Avenue, where Kirk Burroughs used to live at. And I would either follow him.
Right now, all eyes are locked on Diddy and Jay-Z. Will Diddy really betray Jay-Z? Or is this just a rumor getting blown out of proportion? And if Diddy does decide to cooperate with authorities, what could that mean for the future of these two industry giants? Stay tuned as we follow this story closely. We'll keep you updated on any new twists and turns in the coming days and weeks. This one is far from over.
I feel like with Diddy, we didn't hear that much. We knew that he partied hard. We knew that he was always going to high-profile events and all of that. But I personally have never heard any rumors surrounding any wrongdoing or anything having to do with him. This is an artist who really came to prominence in the 90s. We remember all of the videos. He was very close with Biggie Smalls, who also tragically lost his life back in the late 1990s, early 2000s. And so he was somebody who had this whole orbit around him, and so many different artists like Maze and all these different folks that sprung out from this record label and orbit that they were in. So he had a huge impact on what R&B and hip hop looked like in the 90s and the 2000s, and continued to be influential today in terms of other artists that have, gained prominence and gained fame, as well as him as a producer, having this really huge presence in the industry. So absolutely, this is a bombshell, and this is something where the impact is going to be reverberating around the globe for a variety of reasons.
But during this era, Diddy did have some trouble with the law. Back in 1999, he was arrested and charged in a shooting at a New York nightclub. His then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez and rapper Shine were also arrested. J-Lo's charges were dropped, but it was Shine who faced the most serious charges: 3 counts of attempted murder and criminal possession of a weapon. Ultimately, both Diddy and Shine went to trial. Diddy was acquitted, but Shine was convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison. He was released in 2009 and deported back to his home country of Belize. If we're looking at it in the 1999 lens, or the early 2000s when they went to trial, what was everyone making of it then?
So I think people were not like horrified per se. I think they looked at it as, well, this is part and parcel of the hip hop industry. I don't think it was very shocking because, there's definitely a perception, somewhat reality as well, that there is violence in the hip hop community and sort of that beef between different groups or different labels. We all know about the East Coast, West Coast beef that was going on during the 90s with Tupac on one side, Biggie on the other. So this was something that was an outgrowth of that time frame. So I don't think folks were super shocked at that juncture. I think what was more shocking was sort of Jennifer Lopez's involvement in all of this, because I don't think, even though she was like, yeah, I'm Jenny from the block, I don't think anybody really saw her as really going to be that quote unquote that chick who is coming with the firearm and is going to hold it down and ride or die for her man. Like, I don't think people really saw that of her. So I think that was the most shocking part of the case back in 1999.
So we've got these allegations that Diddy was responsible as the shooter, but also allegations that J-Lo carried the weapon that Diddy used in the shooting. What's interesting here is that Cassandra Ventura, known publicly as the singer Cassie, says Diddy made her do the same thing. She filed a lawsuit in November of last year, laying out some pretty severe allegations about Diddy. To start, there's that gun allegation that on at least 2 occasions, Diddy demanded Cassie hold his gun in her purse. The lawsuit goes on to state, quote, there was no clear reason why Mr. Combs required her to hold his gun, except to reinforce to his young girlfriend that he was violent, powerful, and dangerous.
Not only did Jennifer Lopez allegedly bring the gun to the club, now we're also looking at, years later, Cassie coming forward and saying that Diddy forced her to carry a gun with her when they went out to different events. So again, I think that this is more along the lines of, when you look at this from a domestic violence lens, from the standpoint of the abuser being very controlling and demanding certain activities to prove loyalty, to basically put yourself in a bad situation where only he can be the one to save you, basically. So in seeing that, the parallels between J-Lo's experience and Cassie's experience, number one, it brings more credibility to what Cassie said in her pleadings, but also, again, it causes us to look at Jennifer Lopez and be like, some of the comments she made about the end of her relationship to Diddy, in terms of, well, there was infidelity, and, she kind of skirted the issue a bit. But when you start to look back at her comments, you start to think, ooh, were you in a domestic violence relationship with Diddy, much like how Cassie ended up in a domestic violence relationship with him?
What would have made her want to come forward, and what did you take away from that civil suit?
So the reason why she came forward at this juncture is because New York and California both passed laws around which was called the Adult Survivor Act. So that basically extends the statute of limitations.
In the world of hip-hop, power and fame means secrets don't stay buried for long. With Ice Cube reportedly speaking out and Diddy's arrest sparking wild speculation about Jay-Z, this is quickly becoming one of the most explosive stories of the year. Stay tuned as we keep tracking every twist and turn. There's much more to come.